Hit record. All right. So, Jacob, I'm excited to have you on, man. I'm excited to walk through this with you. You're okay with me sharing this with whoever I decide to, so that they have an idea of what this is really like.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So, first things first, the goal behind this is to kind of get your story and where you've gone, because you started right about the beginning of October in 17. And you've done several deals. We'll get to that later. But why did you choose real estate sales over the other ones you looked at?
Um, well, so to be honest, I heard about it on the radio. There was an ad on the talk show radio that I listened to, and I called the number, probably a little apprehensive, like other people, not really knowing what you're getting into, or if it's going to be a scam or it's going to be the real deal. And when I talked to Amy, one of the first things that hooked me was I set an appointment with her, and my wife was supposed to be there on the appointment because we're moving into this. We were going to be moving into this business venture together. And so I get on the phone with Amy. My wife had to run to the store to go buy some formula for our new baby or something. She had to step out. And so I said, hey, Amy, my wife's going to be back in like 10, 15 minutes. She had to run to the grocery store to get some formula for the baby or whatever she was doing at the time. I can't remember. And Amy said, hey, well, why don't you call me back in 15 minutes when your wife is there? And I got kind of frustrated because, I was wanting to move forward and get things started as quickly as possible and get on my way to financial freedom. And I thought that she was holding me up by 15 minutes, And so I said, Amy, let's just get this thing started. My wife's coming. And she said, no, you know what? And she was real nice about it, but she said, I really need your wife to be on board with this and to be a part of this conversation. And so I said, okay, whatever, Amy. And so I said, I'll call you back. But after I reflected on that, I appreciated that because it showed character on her part. It showed that she wasn't just going to be, just a salesman, but she was looking out for the best, what was going to be best for me and my family at that time. And so after reflecting on that, I thought highly of Amy and what she was trying to build, because if she was just a salesman, she would have said, okay, hey, let's go ahead and push this thing through before your wife gets back. And she didn't do that. And so that was one mark that she made on me with that initial conversation.
Perfect. When I got started, she did the same thing with me. And for me, it was important for the exact same reason that my wife was on board as well. So do you believe that through the entire process that real estate sales and your coach or your mentor has lived up to the expectations you had in the beginning?
I do believe that. I didn't really know what to expect. I'm new to real estate. I had never been a part of a real estate transaction except for my primary residence, and I had a real estate agent, so I had never, represented myself in a transaction or anything like that. And so I didn't really know what to expect, but I was hungry. I wanted to learn, and I believe, you as my coach in real estate sales gave me that opportunity to learn the business, to jump in, and I think that if real estate sales was going to do everything for me and hey, this is and kind of and I would say be more of a crutch. I don't think that real estate sales did that. I think you, Nick, as my coach, did a good job of balancing that, where it's not where I'm going to do everything for you, but also on the other end of that is I'm here to support what's going on and make sure that you're not going to fall flat on your face. And so there's a good balance there because it pushed me to go out and be hungry and look for information and find solutions to problems, because if everything's done for you, you're going to end up being lazy and then end up blaming your coach when something goes wrong, as opposed to, hey, I'm in this to win it, and I need to go out there and make it happen. So I appreciated the balance that was in the training, and that was also in the implementation side of that with getting things done.
Do you think that you Do you think you would be where you're at without the mentorship?
Absolutely not. I told my wife this after we closed that sub $30,000 deal, the first one, and I said, if I didn't have Nick coaching me, helping me through this, and being able to bounce ideas off of and say, hey, that's okay, that one didn't happen, but just keep moving forward. I would have quit. I would have quit because there's too many factors that are involved in a single wholesale deal, let alone, how many we were looking at, 30, 40, 50 that I was talking to. And there's just too many factors. And I think that if I would have jumped into it by myself, I would have got discouraged early because I would have had to do a lot more. I would have had to go down a lot more rabbit trails, because you don't know what's going to be good or what's going to be bad unless somebody tells you. So you got to go down that road and figure it out. And so, and I did my fair share of rabbit trails for sure, but there was learning involved in that. But I think I would have went down many, many more rabbit trails to the point where I would have got discouraged and say, hey, this doesn't really work if I didn't have the coach and, just the framework, the general framework that was set up for us.
So, we work on these training materials, and do you feel that you got everything that you needed to succeed with where you've gotten so far today?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If I needed, and there was a couple of deals where, yeah, it's what you need is there for sure.
So, to get a little more personal, if you were to start again with real estate sales, do you think you would have started in the same package, or do you think you'd have bought bigger?
I would have bought bigger, that's for sure. That's for sure. I would have went with the 30. I would have went with the 30. Yeah, 30 grand.
More for yourself, right?
That's right. I mean, it's less for you. I don't know how that works. I don't know, I don't know how that all works out on your end. If you get more on the front end, if I put in 30 or what, but when you look at, I mean, the what I sent you the other day, I sent you 4 grand or whatever it was. And, that could have been, that could have been,
Yeah.
and hey,
I appreciate it, Jacob. You did a great job, but I do agree. I think everybody when they first get started are very, very apprehensive, and then after they're going, they kind of wish they could have moved up.
yeah, absolutely. And I was burning it on the front end when there was some time that you like 14 or whatever it was, there's some time that you have to, if you wanted to bump that up or whatever to the 30. And so I was trying to close a $10,000 deal before that time so I could bump it up to the 30, but I couldn't. I couldn't make it happen. But yeah, it's all good. And I think it's good for the business and good for learning. I'll be sent. I'm getting a check for 5 grand here in a little bit, and I'll be sending you half of that. So
Perfect.
it should be coming in the bank any minute now.
Perfect. So I got a kind of a silly question. If you were going to put a price tag on what you've learned through the mentorship and experiencing what you've been through, what kind of a price tag would you put on that for that opportunity?
You can't put it. It's infinite. The price tag is infinite because when I believe that our greatest asset is our mind. It's our greatest asset.
Man,
And when you invest in your mind, which is knowledge, the possibilities are infinite. They're endless. So there's no price tag you can put on it. I just got done reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm sure you've read, and that's a concept that he talks about in there, is that our greatest asset is our mind, and we got to continue to. And I'm reading Think and Grow Rich now. I ordered The Art of the Deal, Donald Trump. And so I'm continuing to learn, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop because the markets changes, society changes, and if we're going to stay in front of that curve, we got to continue to learn. And so, yeah, short answer, infinite.
yeah, and it's important, and I know that I've told you, but I believe that we're in the business of investing, but investing in yourself is key to any
Absolutely.
other investing or any other success. Pushing yourself to be investing in you daily, investing in your family daily, is crucial to your success and in moving forward.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah, I remember we've had that conversation several times. Yeah.
Right. So you started about October 3rd ish, 2017, right?
Right. Exactly.
How long do you think it took you to get used to the process?
Um,
I mean, you were fast. I mean, I was looking over your notes. I think that you came in second or third. 2 days later, you were printing, and just a
yeah.
couple days after that, you were getting phone calls, and I mean, you were flying. Uh,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
how long did it take you before it was like, okay, I'm comfortable, I can do this?
So I'm gonna answer the question. So when you say get used to or get comfortable, when I first started, you told me do not answer the phone when it rings. Let it go to the voicemail and get the information and then go look at it. I'm gonna say now I don't. So I don't know if you can get mad at me, but I don't take that advice anymore. I pick my phone up and and I talk to him. And
Argue.
what's that?
You're succeeding. How can I argue?
So I picked the phone up now, and so I would say that was my when I felt like I was getting more comfortable when I was able to pick the phone up and I tell them just like what you do in the training, is hey, I'm not in the office right now, but if you give me the address and then at that point, the reason why I do that, Nick, is because I want to get a feel. I want to be able to smell it, smell the deal.
Yep.
If I smell the deal, then I spend more time on it. If I don't smell it, then I just move on to the next one, put the notes in there, whatever it is on the spreadsheet, and then keep moving. But if I think I saved myself some time doing that, being able to sniff that deal out from the very outset of the call. So if I talk to them and they're like, oh man, this house it burned down, half of it's burnt, but I want retail market value. Okay, I'll talk to you in 6 weeks or whatever it is, 90 days, and see if you get more motivated. So I would say probably let's see, it was October, probably like the end of like December, the beginning of January, I started picking up the phone as opposed to going and doing all the research on the front end for that property and then trying to get a feel for it. So probably after maybe 8 to 10 weeks, I started to get comfortable with the phone calls. That's what I'm thinking of when you say process. I'm thinking of actually taking calls from motivated sellers. It was about maybe 8 weeks or so when I started to get comfortable enough to pick the phone up.
Do you think that picking the phone up at a whim when you have to think on the fly, do you think you learn faster that way?
I do, and that's just my personality, Nick. That's just how I am. I like to put myself under pressure, and you got to think on your feet, And I don't know. I just like that. I've always been just a jump in the pool kind of guy. I don't like putting my foot in and then putting my leg. I'm just get in. So so yeah, I think it helped me. Yeah, that's a good perspective.
And then when you mailed your first batch just a couple days after, at least we printed a couple days after, and I'm pretty sure you had mailed them within a couple days. Do you remember? Wasn't it like 3 weeks or a month when you signed your first deal after you mailed your first batch?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 weeks is, yeah, probably three, because he called me. I had that first. He was actually the first call that I took. That maybe the first or second, that I got a message on that I started to work, and then he was motivated. He said, I want to get rid of this thing, and then he went MIA for 2 weeks. I was calling him, he wouldn't answer the phone. What I found out afterwards, what he was trying to do is he was trying to find a buyer for his property on his own. And because I had offered him, he wanted 140,000, 120 or something. I can't remember what it was. And I offered him 40. And so he went to work trying to find somebody to buy this thing. And so we ended up at 50,000 is what we ended up signing it for, was 50,000. And he couldn't find a buyer at 50,000 himself. And so he came back to me after 2 weeks of being MIA and said, I'm ready to sign at 50. So I said, great. I drove out to him. We signed it at 50. I took my family with me, and he had a boat, and he took us out on a boat, actually, in the bay. Yeah. And we spent the afternoon together building a relationship. We spent like 3 or 4 hours with him, and he spent with my family. We're supposed to go get some, I actually was going to buy him some pie, and he was busy that day or whatever. We're going to connect. We still got a relationship. So, I think that's important. That was a little side note there, but yeah.
I,
So about 3 weeks.
I love the fact that you're talking about the relationships because I beat that to death, don't I?
Yeah.
And
It's
about
important.
relationship.
Important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Important.
And then I know you've commented on it a couple times, but that was the first deal you did, right? The first one
Right.
you sold, and you made about how much on that first deal?
Well, total it was just sub 28,000, and then I ended up making like 13 or 14, whatever that was.
After
Yeah.
splitting it with real estate sales.
After splitting it, yeah.
Yep. So I have to ask, we've talked about the calls a little bit. How confident were you after working with me and going through the training and that? How confident was that first call? How confident were you when you made that first call?
I was scared to death, man. I was just scared to death. I mean, I don't think that, I mean, I'm just being honest, I mean, the training's good, but there, you could train all you want for MMA, but when you get, when the bell rings and you're in the octagon, I mean, it's a whole nother ball game, and so, I would say I was nervous. I was very nervous because I didn't know what to expect. And, a lot of the calls were for vacant land, and I, was working on those deals, which are difficult, that we've talked about that, so I was nervous my first call for sure.
So did it take you, I mean, how was it working with the motivated sellers? It's a matter of just trying to build that relationship. I mean, you always get the negative as well, but what do you think it was like? Do you think it was good working with the motivated sellers there?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no substitute for that. I mean, there's no amount of training that you guys can do on the front end. I mean, you could do like a whole nother 40 hours of training if you wanted to, but it's not going to be being on the phone to motivated sellers in the particular market that you're working in, because, I've been talking to people out in Arkansas. I mean, it's way different, man. I mean, people won't talk around dinner time, and I'm like, what? I'm like, we're in California. We work all day, So, I and they're talking about. I was telling you that this lady was telling me that she's on a thoroughfare, a busy street, and I looked it up on Google Maps, and it's a 2-lane highway, and I'm like, out in LA, we got 9 lanes on both sides of the freeway, and they're all packed. I'm like, I don't know what kind of thoroughfare this lady's talking about, So.
Different world here in the Midwest, let me tell you.
Different world. So, I mean, real estate sales can't train you for everything. It's just, you're just going to have to jump in and start talking to people and get comfortable. And I remember, I mean, still till today, there's, every time I talked, not every time, but a lot of times in the beginning, every conversation I had, there was 1 to 3 things that were words or things that were mentioned in the conversation that I didn't know about. And so I had to go back and I had to do some research, and I had to stay hungry, and I had to keep moving and not get discouraged and all that stuff that goes along with it. But, there's too much content to be covered, in training. You're just going to have to learn it, by doing.
Jumping in and doing it will teach you more. I mean, I'm sure I told you it's about getting out there, get it going, start dealing with some of those objections. And I keep smiling because everything that has to do with the success that you've had has to do with a relationship.
Yes, sir.
So I might be getting ahead of myself, but you've got a couple more deals coming through. You had one that you just paid real estate sales on. You got another one coming through in a day or so. It all has to do with relationships, right?
That's right. That's right. And so these last 2 deals that we closed, I met a guy through a title company. So I was looking for a title company. Like you talked to me from the beginning. You got to put your team together. You got to get a lawyer, got to get the title escrow company, got to get investors, and those are all based on relationships. And so when I started looking for a title company, I got a recommendation from another investor at a local RIA meeting, real estate investors meeting, that you also told me that I needed to go to. So I went, talked to them. She gave me the information. I contacted him. I looked at his website, found out he was doing a Bible study. He does a Bible study every Monday morning at 6 o'clock at a restaurant out here. So I showed up at 6 o'clock in the morning for the Bible study and met the title guy that I've been using, and also met at that Bible study the investor that was a part of the last deal that we just closed, and he was going to buy this one that we're closing that we closed yesterday that we'll be getting paid for today. But the numbers didn't work for him on that one. But I had another relationship with somebody else that we're closing on that one. So all of those, like you're saying, is based on the relationships, being straight with people, talking straight to people, doing what you say you're going to do, and things will fall into place. I don't know exactly how it all works, but it just works.
Of course, because you're building a relationship. So, for my sake, do you think the relationships are only important on the buyer side?
Absolutely not. So the two that we're closing on, the one that we closed on last week and the one closed on this week, those were from the seller feeling comfortable with the initial transaction. So we wanted to do both at the same time. And she said, we won't talk about the second one until I know that you have good faith on this first one. So we closed on time. Everything, the earnest money was there when we said it was going to be there, and the information was given when we said it was going to be given, and she felt good about us on the first one, and so she gave me the second one as well. So that's on the seller side. And then also with all of the people on your team, escrow, title, everybody else involved.
Awesome. Where did you get your cash buyers?
So the first cash buyer on the $28,000 deal, I was at the property showing it to a potential cash buyer. The neighbor came over, again, a relationship. The neighbor came over, he started chopping it up with me, and I'm friendly, I'm open, just like I am here. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? And and I actually went to a city planning meeting 2 days before I met this neighbor, and he was at the city planning meeting complaining about the city giving him a ticket for where he parked his trailer. And so I told him, hey, I saw you at the city planning meeting, man. I said, I don't know what their deal is, but if you need any help from me, I got this thing under contract right now. If you want to park it in front of here, whatever, just let me know. And he sent me the contact of the cash buyer that paid $81,500 for that property. He did that. And I actually got to take him by a check, because I told him that I would, if I closed the deal, that I would give him like a small 1% or whatever it was, And so I still got to go do that. When I go take pictures of the property being updated, I'm gonna take him by a thank you card and just put a couple $100 in there for him or whatever. And relationships.
So I forgot the motivated seller leads. How important are they to your progression and your success to date?
This wouldn't happen without them. That's where it starts. You got to have the leads. Without the leads, you can't get it off the ground. I like to say you can't steer a ship that's not moving, and those motivated sellers get it moving. So
right. And even building relationships, you could get somewhere, but it'd take a whole lot longer without those leads, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
I love the fact too, we as real estate sales and the mentoring program, we tell all potential clients that real estate sales provides a turnkey business. Do you agree with the fact that we provide a turnkey?
Absolutely. From start to finish, from day one, talking to Amy, everything's been on the up and up. I mean, what you guys told me is what it's been. Everything. I mean, from the training to the letters. I've talked to you about which printer to buy. So I mean, down to the details. I remember asking you, should I buy a color? Should I buy a black? Should I buy this? Or should I? What kind of envelopes do we use? Number 10, Amy told me, make sure you get the number 10 envelopes with the strip, so you don't have to sit in there licking stuff. And so I mean, down to the details. you guys give them to us. Now, I'm sure that you guys have people who want to stray from that and do something a little bit different. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But for the most part, you give the framework, you give the canvas, and allow us to paint the picture, which I think is the best way to do it, because every market's different, every person is different, every motivated seller is different. So yeah, it's what it should be.
There is no black and white to this, is there? It
Right.
is an exact, just like you said, it is a
Art.
every
It's an
situation,
art.
every call is different.
Right.
So
Yeah.
mentor is important. Now bear with me. I'm going to ask some questions for potential clients, things that they are going to be asking themselves, I'm sure. I know I asked a few of these in the beginning. Um, so how long did you invest in real estate before working with us? You hit that, but I'm going to ask again.
Just my primary residence. That was the extent of my real estate investing.
So how many hours a week do you work in the real estate uh, investing side?
Um, in the beginning, it was a lot. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I was hungry, and I remember talking to you, Nick, and asking you, give me some books to read, man. What? I don't know. Just tell me where to go. Just point me in a direction. I'm ready to knock it down. So I was trying to teach myself as much as possible. So I was spending time reading books. I looked at your videos. I mean, I can quote some of that stuff, because I watched it so many times. I was watching the videos over and over and making sure my spreadsheet was right. And I just wanted to do everything on my part so that I could say I put my best foot forward, and if I fall, I'm going to fall forward. I wasn't going to blame you or blame real estate sales or blame somebody else. If anybody was to blame, it was going to be me. So I put a lot of time in the beginning, but where I was working at the time allowed me to do that. I have a new position now, a new job, and so it doesn't really allow me the amount of time. But I would say that the first 3 months that I was doing this, maybe about 3 months exactly. I front loaded a lot of the learning, and so now I'm trying to just lean on some. I got a lot more to go. I definitely understand that. I know that I'm going to continue to learn, but I'm leaning on some of those that time that I spent in the first 3 months. I would say in terms of an hour, maybe a couple hours a day. Maybe like 15, 20 hours somewhere in there a week, but on top of my 40-hour a week job, I was burning it, but how hungry are you, and if you're not hungry, you couldn't be here in the first place, so, keep your day job, so, and it's just what it is. But, I appreciate that. And I told my wife this in the beginning is that there's a lot of levels to this. There's a lot of stuff to learn, and there's other programs out there that does with real estate sales what they do. But I would say this, that when I looked at some of those and they said, hey, you're going to get rich in 30 days, or you're going to do this, and that's just not real. Okay, that just doesn't happen that way. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to be up late. You're going to be printing out letters when your family's sleeping. This stuff's just going to happen. And so, but what I told my wife is that at every level where I came to, where it was hard and I didn't know what to do, and I called you and got the answer, and I had to reach out, and I had to every level. And I told my wife, I said, at this level, there's somebody else that was doing that I was doing that just fell out. At this level, there's somebody else that dropped out at this level because it was too hard for them. And so it's not that I got to be the best. I just got to get up one more time, Nick, than the bum next to me, So, so
I love it.
That's it, man.
I love it. So I believe I've owned my own construction company for years, and the greatest compliment ever is when a client would recommend my company to a family member or a friend. Do you think you would refer a friend or family member to real estate sales?
I have already. I can't. Maybe I was at the bank yesterday, 2 days ago, when I sent you that $4,000, and the business banker guy, the guy that's in charge of my business account, he used to do real estate as an agent. And he's like, hey, you're bringing me this money. He's like, what's going on? And I told him, man, real estate sales. And he wrote it down. I don't know if he looked it up. I went in there. I'm going to be going in there again to put some more money in the bank, man. Maybe he'll figure it out. I don't know, man. I don't know how much money it's going to take, but he's comfortable in his day job, and that's cool, and but that's just some people, they're just in a different place, which is okay.
Yep. 3 more questions, man. Do you think anybody could do this?
I read it. You probably read this book, Nick. You seem like you study leadership, but I studied leadership for some years now. And I read a book called Launching a Leadership Revolution. You ever read that?
Oh, yeah.
Great book, great Christian-based, the scriptures in it.
Yep.
And he talks about the 3 H's. And I talk to the, staff that I work with now that I work with. And he talks about, number 1, you got to be hungry. If you're not hungry, you can't do this. So I would say that if you're not hungry, no, you're not going to be able to do it. Number 2, you got to be humble. If you're not willing to humble yourself enough with your coach to say, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't figure this out, can you please help me? You're not going to make it. And number 3, you got to be honorable. And if you're not honorable, this ain't going to work, because there's that's why the contract is the way that it is, because there's people who try to cheat real estate sales and try to close deals outside of it and say, well, I'm going to take that for myself. And so the third honorability piece, it checks the first one. It's a checks and balance system. So you can be really hungry, but if you're willing to cheat to make the money, this ain't going to work for you, And so I think those 3 factors need to, if you got those 3 or some level of them, I think you can do it. But my answer would be no. I don't think it, because not everybody is gonna be in that situation. But if you have that, I think anybody can do it, as long as I don't think you have to be a certain IQ level or anything like that. You just got to be willing, you got to be hungry, and got to have some humility and some honorability.
Man, that was perfect. Yeah, that's dead on perfect. I appreciate that. So I'm going to ask both questions at once. What do you think is the hardest, but yet, and the easiest part about doing this? I think I can name a couple things that are difficult, especially in the beginning. But what do you think is the hardest, and what do you think is the easiest or the most enjoyable part?
Okay. I think the hardest part, especially in the beginning, like I was talking to Rob yesterday, he sent out his first batch of letters, and he gets back the letters that are bad addresses, and he's like, 49 cents every, he's like, what's, and I was the same way. And so what I'm getting at is it's difficult for us as finite human beings to believe in something you cannot see.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the hardest part is staying faithful and staying the course. Stay the course. Do what your coach tells you to do, and you just got to stay the course. And so that's the hardest part, is continuing to do the work even when you can't see the results or you can't see the end of it. And it was only, I closed my first deal. I think it was like 3 months or 4 months or something like that. But I wanted it to be in the second week, so, but you just got to stay the course. So that's the hardest part. The most enjoyable part, well, making money is great, but I think for me, like you're saying, Nick, like the second deal that we just closed, and the seller saying, hey, you know what, you did what you said you were going to do. Here's the next one. And so, I'm closing this next one. We closed it yesterday. We should be getting paid today. Even before that closed last week, I'm already working on deal 4, 5, and 6, and so that's the exciting part about it, is there's no limit, at $1, how many deals can I make, so there's no limit to this thing, and so I think that's the exciting part, is I was working on deal 4, 5, and 6 when I hadn't even closed 2 and 3 yet. That's exciting to me.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, Jacob, we have had a lot of fantastic conversations through this process since you started in October. We got a lot of the same views and same faith base, and I love that and respect that. And I've enjoyed this time with you today. I know we're running very short on time. The last question: if you were going to talk to somebody that was thinking about signing up for real estate sales, with real estate sales and investing in real estate, what would you tell them? What would you say as advice on deciding? And maybe it's not just working with us, but investing in real estate themselves.
I would say the first thing I would say is that you got to look within yourself, and you got to figure out, what do you want for your future? What do you want for your family? And if you don't have a good answer to that question, just drop it and just keep doing whatever it is that you're doing. But if you look within yourself and you say, you know what, I'm not satisfied with where I'm at. I got bigger goals. And I've told you this before, Nick, my goal when I first started, and it's still the same, it's got to stay the same, is that I want to free up my time so that I can spend more time with my family and with the church, being about the King's business. I don't know, who you're going to show this to or whatever, and how politically correct that is, but that's just where I'm at, And so that's my goal, is to free my time up so that I can do the things that I feel I've been called to do. And that's being a father, being a husband, and being used in the church. And so that's what I found when I looked within myself, and that's what brought me to real estate sales. And so if you're thinking about coming, I would say, know your purpose first, because there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be times you feel like quitting. And when you feel like, it's just going to happen, because this is not a cookie cutter deal. And if you don't have that, if you don't have that vision inside your heart and that purpose set, you're not going to make it, So I would say do that first. And then if you're doubting, is this real? Is it not? Is it, whatever, it's real. I got 2 checks that say that it's real, so it's definitely real. And you can do it. It can happen. But it's gonna take time and patience and hard work. But it can happen. It's possible.
Anything that's worth doing takes work.
That's right.
Marriage, business, kids, it all takes
Right. That's right. That's right. And if it didn't, people they wouldn't be thankful for it,
Absolutely.
Yeah. At the bottom of your email, Nick, it says that if you're failing, that means you're trying.
Right.
And that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take.
Exactly right.